Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back from your short lunch. Frank Wiley, the Taskmaster, if you have not appreciated it, has orange, yellow, green, and then red time cards that he waves from the back of the room for those of you who faded this. So there is my green start. It says 15. Let me begin, and I appreciate it, and I will watch my time. My background was introduced kindly by Frank, and so it's in the program. I won't belabor that. Let me get on to something more important. And I'm going to begin with an interesting challenge. I won't read to you some of the quotes because I think you can read faster than I. But I will begin with this quotation from a new paper that Mike Berry is working on now that he was kind enough to share with me, which I've titled Clean is Green, but what of green cleaning? And why don't you read this for a moment, and then I am going to step aside and I'm going to attempt the challenge of defining green cleaning for you based on the question from Doug Bradford yesterday. Take 10 seconds and read this. Okay? Yesterday, my colleague, Doug Bradford of the carpet cleaner here on my left, was kind enough to step up and say, why can't we find a definition for green cleaning? And I love a challenge, and I love a smart question. Thank you, Doug. Other related colleagues here, Greg Jones from Porter Industries and others, have talked to me about the management issues related to green. And I've had one or two of you, including one of my colleagues at lunch, say, you can't define green. It's just so amorphous. There are so many pieces of it. You can't do it. Well, I could be a fool, but I'm sorry I don't have it on the overhead. But this morning on jet lag and a little later this morning, I've attempted, and I'll read it to you, and then just think about it, and we can argue about it later. Quote, green cleaning, comma, better understood as cleaning green, comma, comprises environmentally responsible management plus care, maintenance, and renovation procedures employing cleaning products, formulae, equipment, procedures, or systems intended to minimize any deleterious or harmful impacts on our natural and built environments, semicolon. Such environments including human health, the air we breathe, the water we use, the land, and our earth, close quotes. That's my attempt at a working definition for green cleaning, and we'll see if that holds or not. But think about that as we go through. What was my introduction to indoor air quality, environmental concerns, and green cleaning? I'm interested. I am not the expert on green cleaning. I don't know all the answers or all the issues. I'm still learning. But my involvement goes back to the late 1980s when I was both at the University of Maryland and with the Restoration Industry Association. Mike Berry was at that time with environmental criteria and assessment for air quality with EPA. And he approached me, again with a challenge. Steve, can we do something and say something about indoor air quality related to textile furnishings and their professional cleaning with the focus on the environment and air quality? And working together, that resulted in a 100-page paper. Mike was kind enough to mention in my 35-year career, it's the only piece that's been translated, and the Japanese were kind enough to do that. We circulated several hundred copies. That was an early interest of mine, which has continued. A second interest that I'll mention briefly, in the mid-1990s, supported by the American National Standards Institute board, I chaired the ISO, International Organization for Standardization, in Geneva. I chaired their Consumer Policy Committee and had continued before and after with national delegations. At that time, those tough consumer advocates were railing against, this is 1980s and 1990s, railing against green claims, eco-labeling claims, green certifications on consumer products. Why was there no harmonization? Why was there no uniformity and recognition of what this meant? And that, at that time, that, I say railing, meaning those raising of serious issues, led to the ISO establishing Technical Committee 207 on Environmental Management. What followed was the ISO 14000 series on environmental management, and I'm very proud to say it came from a group of smart, tough consumers worldwide at the ISO, and I had the honor of working with them. So I give them credit for a lot of that. My intent to cover and not cover in the talk is the following. I hope that I am taking a more even-handed and multifaceted approach. There is not one way to green. There is not one certification to green. There are, in fact, many, numerous, and I hope I'll leave you with a few new ones today. I will focus on different methods to achieve green, a better and, in fact, a more broad approach to a number of certifications. What are green products? What are the claims and some of the limitations that have been expressed by CIRI and others? I will review 3 ISO 14000 series standards that very few people in the US and Canada or Mexico seem to notice, that in fact set guidelines for 3 different types of environmental or green claims and certifications. And I'll bring those forward. And I hope to bring a better sense of order, rationale, and systematic thinking, including being so daring today as attempting to define cleaning green. I will not specifically focus on details or individual approaches. I will mention and discuss, but I will not specifically critique Green Seal, Eco-Logo or Environmental Choice, the EPA's Design for the Environment Formulator Program. I will recognize an enormous number of worldwide green certifications, Blue Angel in Germany, the Nordic Swan, the green label programs of the Carpet and Rug Institute were mentioned earlier by Carrie Shaw. I will discuss some of the increasing state regulations, New York, New Jersey, introductions in Illinois, Vermont. For our Canadian and Mexican colleagues, if that's not your state or your province or county, it's important because as these trends go in some key states, so will go Texas, California, Ontario, Massachusetts, you name it, and it's coming. I will specifically address, it's very important, manufacturers' self-declarations of green. And the Europeans have much more respect and appreciation in the European regulations for manufacturers' self-declarations. And I will bring up examples, and I will use Procter & Gamble's Green Guarantee as a premier example. I will discuss United States Federal Trade Commission, Canadian and international guidelines and prescriptions. What are some buzzwords? What are some trends that are occurring? I needn't tell you this, but let's refresh our memory. When people say green is so amorphous we can't define it, it links to sustainability, sustainable architecture, green design, health, recycling, the use of natural products, biopolymers and renewable resources. Honda's been advertising in full-page advertisements. Their automobiles are designed with environmentology. Don't know what that means yet. But the message is new green certifications, new green terms are appearing, I needn't tell you, weekly or monthly. Indoor air quality, environmental quality, healthy schools, a critical issue, the indoor environment, the Green Building Council lead buildings and green design for points, cleaning specifications, sensitizers, the environment are all somehow related around this large concept of green and the environment. Corporate quality management, Mike Berry mentioned it yesterday, where you have corporations, distributors, manufacturers, or importers, where your environmental stewardship is in concert with or tracking ISO 9001 quality management guidelines or standards, or ISO 14001 environmental management. Each of those and other standards have environmental stewardship implied and specified as part of their management structure. If you are in concert with those, if you're doing recycling, waste minimization, reuse of materials, etc., you are already well on the way to being green. And that's a concept I credit Mike Berry with raising, and I'll reinforce it today. Let me address a number of the green certifications, and I've said it before, I said it at ISSA, I say it again. Every month or two, there is yet another. And that's important. It shows how critical it is, but it also challenges us to understand them all. I recently saw a citation, I'm assuming it's correct. The first of the supposed green or eco-labeling certifications was perhaps Blue Angel in Germany, not the ones that we think of here. A green seal, of course, perhaps best known in the USA, in North America, and in other countries. Eco-Logo, formerly Environmental Choice Canada, premier program as well, highly respected by the Canadians, widely used in their paper industry and paper products, now clearly active in the US, Canada, and North America. The EPA's Design for the Environment, their formulator program, is taking on considerable emphasis. I know a number of companies who choose one or the other of these. There are newest certifications, and I'm sure you will know of these. Green Star, I saw, I think 4 or 6 months ago, introduced its certification. Green Guard, mentioned by Marilyn Black yesterday, for indoor air quality certification. My colleagues from WoolSafe in the United Kingdom and worldwide have green WoolSafe, and it's with their literature. Because my specialty is not only textiles, but fire protection engineering, which was my program at the University of Maryland. Green Flame, which will come up, is a new international certification for fire safety as well as low toxicity and environmental minimization. And of course, many industry manufacturers are self-declaring green, and there is equal value in that. Again, I've mentioned some of the better known ones. Very important for those of you, our suppliers who are international, you know this already, but I call to your attention there are at least 18 to 20 different national ecological or green marks. There is both the European Union, the EU flower, but Blue Angel of Germany is much better known, the Nordic Swan, the Swedish, I think DICO, green certification marks, well known. Almost every major country in Asia has its own green certifications. Japan has an eco mark. Australia, New Zealand, often very closely harmonized on standards and certification, have their environmental choice. Australia, India, Singapore, Korea, Pakistan, you name the major country, and I assure you they have a green certification mark. What am I doing? I'm attempting to broaden your scope. There's not one way to green. If you are global, we are global, you've got to deal with every one of these different marks. I've mentioned Green Guard, which is certification testing and certification for products on their responsiveness to air quality. Green Flame, which I mentioned, is both ecologically designed as well as fire safe, and a major rollout this past year. This is an international program, Sweden, the United States, and an international consortium. The first product is aluminum pallets. And in the question and answers, if you want to ask me how it became aluminum pallets, I can tell you why and what the advantages are over wooden pallets. McDonough Brownguard Design Chemistry. I'm a fiber and textile engineer by original training. They began and have been very sophisticated in designing and helping manufacturers to design and produce textile fabrics and textile products that are designed with sustainability, with recycling, and with reuse in mind. And now they've expanded to automobile tires and a host of other products. The Carpet and Rug Institute Green Label program deserves acclaim. And it was mentioned, their program for green label vacuums for low VOCs and semi-volatile organic compounds, low-emitting carpet cushion, their testing of carpet cleaners. The Green Building Council, there are people in this room that are directly involved with with the GBC and their LEAD program and the use of green cleaning services, as well as the selection of green products for LEED points. Energy Star for energy savings and others. The question, however, is where is the harmonization or the rationalization amongst this increasing profusion of green certifications? It gets more and more valuable, and it gets more and more confusing at the same time. Whose claims, whose ecological labels, whose certifications can you believe? Who do you rely upon? Should one obtain those certifications? Those of you in the business, is it worth the cost? Is it worth the marketing advantage, or do you self-declare and self-certify? What systems or standards do we use to underpin the green claims for materials, for chemical formulae and products? Has the certification program actually required or tested the product itself, or is it based on an analysis of the formulation and some chemical swapping of supposedly safer chemicals for less safe or less preferable products? Do you know if the green system cleans as well or cleans better than the non-green product? Green cleaning assumes that good cleaning is a given. And I think I don't need to tell you that. Let's look at federal policies. I'll use the U.S. as an example. I expect my colleagues in Canada, perhaps in Mexico, have similar procedures. The executive order from late 1990s, greening the government through waste prevention, recycling, and federal acquisition for environmentally preferable products and services. I won't read it at you, just have a quick read. Okay? The Federal Trade Commission of the U.S. has guidelines on marketing claims and advertising substantiation. The green marketing guidelines, and thank you, Mike, for reminding me, Mike Berry, go back over 20 years. The Federal Trade Commission specify that when marketers or advertisers make objective environmental claims, there have to be data, science, substantiation to prove, assure, or rely that those claims are competent, are backed by competent and reliable evidence. So if they are green claims or environmental claims, there must be some transparent substantiation behind those. And there's a website for that. General trends in public disclosure. Again, by quick summary, there are widespread use of cleaning products and cleaning labels throughout the world. Public buildings increasingly are demanding environmentally preferable services. The LEED buildings are now increasingly demanding green cleaning products and green services. I have cleaning colleagues in areas where there are large corporate public facilities, whether it's Doug Bradford working in Washington or Orlando, Florida, my colleagues in Connecticut with corporate buildings and others. Those facilities managers are now increasingly requiring and willing to pay for environmentally preferable cleaning services. The problem and the question still are the consumers. There was a major survey by one of the Fortune 100 companies represented here in the audience that I saw 15 or 20 years ago defining green consumers versus other consumers. And a recent Canadian study by one of the equipment suppliers just showed that it's probably no more than 20% of the consumers who think green, willing to buy green, would prefer green, and perhaps are willing to pay for it. I'm one of those consumers. But we are in the minority. We are also known as the information seekers. We read labels. So there is still, the message still lagging behind our consumers, behind the corporate, the public buildings, the schools and public facilities. Speaking about environmental management, I call to your attention that plant sites and facilities accredited or registered to ISO 14001 on environmental management is still in an exponential growth. I put down 125,000 worldwide certifications to ISO 14001. I'm probably out of date. It must be 150,000 by now. Okay? That impacts, again, the drive to support green. However, anything that has value, rest assured there's going to be fraud. Our colleagues in Canada at EcoLogo have set up a hotline for people to call in and report green claims or certifications supposedly in concert with EcoLogo that might appear to be fraudulent and require inspection and substantiation. And the Canadians are now going to police this. So if there's value, someone will try to find a way around it unfairly. Again, who are the clients, the customers for green services? I've mentioned the corporate customers. I've mentioned local and state preference for cleaning products, cleaning chemicals, cleaning schools, whether it's Canadian, provincial, or federal government agencies. These are people preferring lower odors. Some have fear of chemicals, maybe valid or maybe not. We know how many people are asthmatic, allergic, people who claim environmental and chemical sensitivity, strange people like me who actually prefer cleaning compounds that have little or no odor or no fragrance or the masking of odors, even though I'm in the minority, and people who support the reuse and recycling of waste and water. I want to speak very briefly about the New York State schools, and I will speak also about New Jersey. Recent regulation, I believe in support by ISSA that's been introduced in Illinois, regulations or executive orders in Vermont and other states. In New York State, and I apologize, it's either an executive order or a regulation on the cleaning of all public and private elementary and secondary schools. The message, and I'm saying nothing about Green Seal per se, but if the implication, and I may have had it initially wrong or seen an early version, if the implication was only specifying one certification and not others where there may be other valid ones, I think that implies the possibility of it being anti-competitive or restrictive, in my opinion. In addition, where there is a preference to not use hot water as specified in the cleaning of schools, my public health colleagues and amongst the science advisors have said that that implies the possibility of a health risk. Maybe that's not a wise thing to be doing in schools. By contrast, the recent request for proposal for environmentally preferable cleaning products in New Jersey, very recent, 2007, takes a somewhat broader approach, and I think I've got this one correct. It defines green as those chemicals, you can read it, recognized by either Green Seal or EcoLogo environmental choice or designed for the environment. And it goes further to say that if a cleaning service provider wants to use other products that are not so certified, as I've just mentioned, they can provide detailed laboratory and scientific justification, and they may be able, in fact, to have it reviewed and convince the New Jersey authorities that those particular lines of chemicals, in addition, if not otherwise certified, may still be acceptable and in agreement with the request for a proposal. Vermont and Illinois, other states, considering regulations or specifications or requests for proposal for environmentally preferable services. I work with, and I know, cleaning, maintenance, and restoration contractors who are now responding with companies that they claim are absolutely all green in their management thinking, their services, equipment, and products. And of course, I needn't tell you how many green manufacturers and distributors products there are. What are the trends, issues in green cleaning and ecologically friendly products? Increasing use of plant-based products, of course, renewable, recyclable resources, lower use of allergens, approach to the preference of green consumers or corporate purchases where possible, minimal residues, lower VOCs, the development of safer and newer solvents coming out of our solvent suppliers. I have colleagues on the West Coast in California who have a niche market of high-end consumers who claim, some of them they're even not only highly allergic, but chemically sensitive. They still want their furnishings cleaned, and my colleagues are cleaning with steam and with water, and are doing reasonable cleaning to the satisfaction of customers who are willing to pay top dollar to have cleaning done, literally without additional chemicals or detergents. You're familiar with many of the formulations, and I don't need to tell you that. Let me read to you a quote, and I apologize because it's not up on the screen, but I have a quote that is a concern for cleaning green versus green cleaning. And in fact, I'm quoting Mike Sawchuk and Robert Kravitz, both of whom are in the audience here, and I thank you for being here. Quote, environmentally preferable cleaning chemicals and products, if they are used correctly, are safer and healthier to the environment. But these chemicals, products, and equipment systems involved with green cleaning must also perform. They have to be as effective as traditional cleaning products and be cost neutral. And in your slide, you'll see in addition that I said it certainly is doable, it is being done, it sometimes can be a challenge. Those brackets are my additions. Those are not Kravitz and Sawchuk speaking. The CIRI, late this past year, took a position on green cleaning which states the following. It says it should be clean first and green second in that order. That is, we clean for health and hygiene as well as cleaning environmentally. And in some cases, and it's been mentioned before, it may come up in the discussions, green cleaning, if misapplied or not adequately used, can have negative consequences on cleaning efficacy as well as health. And CIRI emphasizes high-performance cleaning and recognizes that sometimes green cleaning may have negative consequences. It might lead to the addition of odors, lessen actual cleaning performance, or have some adverse health effects. It is the policy of CIRI to assure that all aspects of cleaning and environmental science become an integral part in deciding what is acceptable for eco-friendly cleaning and restoration. And CIRI reiterates that the emphasis is on cleaning first and then, in addition, being green. It must clean safely and effectively as well as environmentally. And that's on the CIRI website, ciri-research.org of last July. Our colleagues from ASHES, the Hospital Health and Executive Specialists, picked up on the CIRI work and went even beyond that in October last year. And I say ASHES, A-S-H-E-S, if you have their website. They support cleaning procedures that are friendly to the environment, but warn against simply rushing blanketly into green cleaning without research that proves the efficacy and the performance, and especially the concept of cleaning for health and hygiene in high-risk environments such as hospitals and healthcare. They caution against the quick adoption of green cleaning. Okay. What are green trends and public disclosure? I think I've emphasized some of those, but let me read you a quotation. You recall I began with my early history with the ISO Consumer Policy Committee, leading to the ISO environmental standards. Here is the same Consumer Policy Committee in September 2006 in the ISO Focus magazine, still concerned about the lack of harmonization and mutual recognition of the green certifications. And quote, eco-labeling, green labeling, eco-labeling is a key trade issue. It could be a trade blockage issue. The ISO suite of standards can provide benchmarks to ensure that consumers, and I add, or users, are not misled about environmental benefits claimed on labels. What happened, and I've discovered in my ISO studies, that the ISO has three 14,000 standards, which they define Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3 as guidance for the substantiation of green labels, green certification programs, and green claims. And for those of you who are the manufacturers, distributors, product formulators, I call to your attention these ISO standards and see, in fact, if the guidelines can help you. Very quickly, the Type 1, these standard is ISO 14024, 14,024, environmentally labeling principles. This is the one you're most familiar with. It effectively says third-party or independent criteria are used to satisfy labels on products meeting predetermined environmental requirements. These are the many programs of which I've already highlighted a large number. There are various levels of testing or no testing. It could be confusing to buyers, or it could be supportive to buyers and helpers. There are added certification costs, costs for maintenance of the certification programs. All that has to be factored in. And Green Seal, Eco Logo, Green Guard, Design for the Environment are all examples. That's the most common type you're familiar with. Another type that is equally or more common but you don't think about is what ISO 14021 calls Type 2 self-declared environmental claims. I'm at the ISSA Interclean meeting, and I look around at all the banners, and it was so green that I thought I was at a St. Patrick's Day celebration. Not only their corporate colors, but all their green banners. The majority of those, I would estimate, are self-declared manufacturers' claims. These are, the ISO gives guidelines for specific requirements for unaudited or self-declared claims by manufacturers or distributors or formulators. And this approach can be extremely valuable where the differing products or brands have enough information behind them documented to allow a transparent comparison of the justification of the claims by that manufacturer, formulator, or distributor. And I call to your attention a specific example that I think is very valuable. There are many others, but I would have you look at Procter & Gamble's greenguarantee.com, a very definitive website that sets out their corporate policy on their approach to green. And I expect a similar information would be available from Johnson Diversey, SC Johnson, and many of the other large companies self-declaring. Type 3 is the most unusual, the one I'm least familiar with, but I have one example. But these are environmental information and declarations, specifically, I think, for the design of sustainable products based on an ISO guide on life cycle assessment. That's that cradle to grave, or now cradle to cradle design for environmentally friendly products. There is a new ISO standard from 2006, 14025. You realize I'm still in the 14,000 series of environmental management standards, principles and procedures for environmental declarations based on life cycle assessment. And the best example that I can come up with is the McDonough-Braungart design chemistry that I referred to earlier, in which my own textile colleagues have whole lines of environmentally friendly and sustainable green textiles going into corporate environments and green buildings. So those ISO standards are important. Speaking about management standards, I remind you that 2006-2007, the ISSA has a cleaning industry management standard describing principles and procedures for designing and implementing quality management in cleaning organizations. We have many large organizations very sophisticated in quality management, but there are many medium-sized and what the ISO calls SMEs, small manufacturing enterprises, who need this kind of cleaning management guidance. It's similar to ISO 9001, but distilled down to its basic concepts, and it's helping cleaning and maintenance organizations become more quality-oriented and more customer-focused. And there is a section within the 11-page ISSA, they call it CIMS, Cleaning Industry Management Standard, on environmental stewardship. So that's equally important. Related green trends. Clearly, the issues of hygiene and health, schools, nurseries, hospitals, and public places, that the previous presenters have done a much better job than I in showing you the importance of health, hygiene, and environmental stewardship in those sensitive environments. I reinforce that. High-performance professional cleaning, more effective maintenance, respect for the environment and the health of both our employees, our workers, as well as, in fact, the occupants, the insured, the patients in hospitals and others, all support the concept of environmental stewardship. And they all challenge us to continue to apply science and technology to improve our understanding of what we call green cleaning and cleaning green. The example that I have, I will, in the interest of time, not reiterate. Carrie Mitchell and others mentioned the Carpet and Rug Institute, green label programs for testing and labeling and awarding certifications for vacuums, low off-gassing, low emitting carpet cushion, low-emitting adhesives, Green Guard certified and listed on the CRI website, and I send you to the Carpet and Rug website for that information, and it's in my slides. Additional information and resources, I mentioned that both CIRI, CIRI, and ASHES, ASHES of the American Hospital Association, respectively in July and November last year on their website, have very firm policies about cleaning green and cleaning safely, as well as environmentally preferable. Mike Berry wrote in the Cleaning and Restoration magazine this year, January and February, of the Restoration Industry Association, 2 articles on effective cleaning and health. I followed those with 2 more articles, although very practical tips on effective cleaning and health. And Mike was kind enough to share with me his very critical thinking on cleaning and environmental protection, an assessment of the green cleaning movement, which is a paper that he's working on and developing right now as we speak in 2007. Where are we? In summary, increasing focus on green maintenance, green cleaning products. It is the hottest issue in the janitorial sanitary maintenance industry. It is not yet that hot an issue on the professional cleaning side that I know better, but it is growing significantly. I do have a select number of colleagues who offer all green, a new all green, all environmentally friendly restoration company. One of my colleagues I use as an example, Triple S in Connecticut, where they specialize in high-end corporate facilities, large cleaning spaces. Doug Bradford does the same, but my Triple S colleagues have just trademarked a whole subdivision of their company called Cleaner, Greener, and Drier to meet that increasing need for environmentally preferable cleaning services. Proper environmental management, I said, is the first step to being green, and good environmental thinking is in fact a major part of being green, in addition to the selection and use of green products or green systems. I've mentioned cradle to grave. I give you a new term if you're not familiar with it, not C to G, cradle to grave. It's now cradle to cradle, cradle to cradle. Textile products and other products designed from the outset to be produced and to function green, and in fact not to go into the grave, but in fact to be reused, recycled, and reprocessed. And there are numerous textile examples of those, and based on the life cycle design. Environmentally friendly agriculture, organic farming, whole foods, all of those concepts are part of this very nebulous item that we call green and the environment, including green cleaning. I alert you that in good corporate image or attempts to improve their corporate image, major retailers such as Walmart and Target have been meeting with, I know their clothing and apparel suppliers, for example, to begin to source green cleaning, sustainably green clothing and textiles, so that they can offer those to their customers. We have organic cotton. We've got numerous designs of green textiles, fibers, green finishes, and companies that are marketing environmentally sustainable clothing and fabrics, and the retailers have picked up on it. I mentioned all green cleaning and restoration firms. Let me end with, and again, I apologize if you have it in front of you, but I'll read it to you. Part of the green movement, like it or not, and I hope I'm not confusing you, is the whole concept of sustainable architecture, sustainable design, sustainable products. And this is Bill McDonough of McDonough Braungart Design Chemistry talking about sustainable development and green design. If we make, and I add, if we service, many of us are service providers, with our hand, what we make with our service with our hands is to be sacred and to honor the earth that gives us life, then the things we make must not only rise from the ground but return to it. Soil back to soil, clean water back to clean water, so that everything is received from the earth can be freely given back without causing any harm to any living system. This is good or green design. And I'll end with the following. I think it's even more cogent. A Native American proverb: treat the earth well. It was not given to you by your parents. Rather, it was loaned to you by your children. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it indeed from our children from the future. I hope I've kept us on time, and I thank you very, very much.